Local government elections are about roads, it's about sanitation, it's about refuse collection, and it's about service delivery. And that is why the trajectory for local government turnout is upward.
Independent candidates and smaller parties are needed in order for our democracy to be strengthened.
So unlike political parties, the community has a lot of power over independents. If you're unhappy with an independent, you can easily vote them out.
So if there are people with loyalty to a party, we would say, vote that nationally, but give us our towns back.
I don't think independents stand a chance in the local government. Local government is a very contested space. You have to have numbers, also experience.
Can independent candidates succeed? Welcome to the Big Debate. I'm Ridi Kabi. South Africans go to the polls in November. It's the long-awaited local government elections. We complain and complain about our leaders, but it seems to take a lot for us to vote them out of office. The three biggest parties launched their bulky manifestos with great fanfare. They've promised, once again, to provide water, electricity and roads. But we have heard all of this before. Is it time to make a break with the big three parties? This election has seen an unprecedented number of independents all over South Africa. Close to 1,000 women and men have put their names on the ballot, promising to improve the lives of their communities. But can a councillor in a municipality make real change without the backing of a major national party? Who are the new kids on the block? In this episode of The Big Debate, we speak to independent candidates and smaller parties who promise to be better than the current lot. Joining me are Mildred Motsu-Asile, an independent candidate contesting in the Moses Kotane local municipality. We have Tsiamo Malaji, a 23-year-old independent candidate for Ward 19, Mangaung local municipality. Trevor Ngwani, no stranger to the show, director of the Center for Sociological Research and Practice at the University of Johannesburg. And of course, Wayne Sussman, an elections analyst. And in our virtual audience are more independent candidates, representatives of smaller parties and South Africans from across the country. So today, we get a chance to reflect on some of our options for the coming elections. Welcome to you all and welcome to you at home. Remember, you can join the conversation using the hashtag on your screen. Tsiamo, let me begin with you. You are 23 years old. You are contesting in Mangaung, an ANC stronghold, really. I hear that people of Mangaung are really hurtful and they are promising a city-wide shutdown. What are you promising?
So the way we run our campaign as an independent is we don't focus on me, we focus on the community. So unlike political parties, the community has a lot of power over independents. If you're unhappy with an independent, you can easily vote them out. It's more difficult with political parties. So what I want to do is I want to bring the entire community together. And we've already done some initiatives. We've fought off evictions, we've assisted homeless and impoverished people in accessing food and accommodation. So it's less about what we're promising to do, and it's more about us running a campaign for government so we can escalate all the things we're already doing in the community every day. And you're right, lots of people are upset. We've already had one shutdown. There was an attempted shutdown this week as well, but protests are ongoing. So I think there's a lot of frustration, and we want our campaign to take a lot of that frustration and put it into community initiatives, shelter, healthcare, food, the various services that our government has promised us.
And you're not daunted by the presence and the magnitude of the ANC in Mangaung?
I don't think so. For starters, the current ANC councillor got less than 50% of the vote in 2016 in this ward. Another thing to really think about is the way we run our campaign. We don't see it as us running against the ANC or running against any political party. Instead, we see it as running for the community. And as long as any political party, including the ANC, isn't answering to the interests of the community, we aren't concerned about that party. In fact, we'd like the ANC to do better and any political party to do better. We're not contesting against anyone. We're contesting for people. And that's our only focus.
Mildred, let me bring you in here. You're in a similar situation, aren't you? The Moses Kotane municipality, the ANC has a huge presence there. Tell us why you are running. What are you going to do differently?
Right now, I'm contesting 14 wards in Moses Kotane, of which 90% of our 109 villages is rural areas. So for Banabatari, the changes that we're going to bring for them, it's clean water, where we're going to have to eliminate the municipality. It must be directly the water from Mahalis to the people, because clearly the municipality is failing in professionalizing whatever it is that they need to do. With sanitation, it's so sad. There's a village named Pela in Moses Kotane. Right now, that village is an ANC stronghold where they're still using pit toilets 27 years later. So we're saying to the people, this is our time to take charge and put our foot down and say, enough, it's enough.
I can't help reflecting on the irony, Trevor Ngwani. Moses Kotane, one of the most prolific communists produced by the anti-apartheid struggle. And yet here we are in a municipality named after him. People are in pit latrine toilets and no water and no sanitation. It's just absolutely jaw-dropping. But Trevor, you also ran as an independent candidate in Soweto. You were behind the anti-privatization movement against the privatization of electricity in Soweto. You were there, but you failed, didn't you? Can independent candidates succeed?
Yes, I think independents can succeed if, like the first candidate just spoke, they are linked to building the struggle of ordinary people for their needs. I think the job of the independent is to organize, mobilize the masses so that, they use their own power to push back and fight for their needs.
What are your thoughts, Wayne? Social mobilization, something that independent candidates have to do. Do they stand a chance in this election?
If you look at the candidates list for this particular local government elections, it's much longer than ever. It's a great sign that more and more people want to participate in our elections, want to bring change to their communities across the country, but that's easier said than done. Our experience tells us over the last 5 years that many of these smaller parties have battled when it comes to forming coalitions with the larger parties in bringing real change to that municipality and real change to their voters and constituents.
What do you mean by that? I mean, does it mean that once they are elected, they will need those numbers of the big parties in order to be effective? I have seen that in some instances it's the other way around, where bigger parties don't get a clear majority and the smaller parties and candidates are almost used as pawns to get them the numbers that they need in the chamber. How does it work?
The 2016 local government elections were unprecedented. In 8 out of our 9 provinces, we saw that the major parties had to form coalitions. But in many of those instances, those small parties who were the kingmakers or queenmakers were not able to bring real change to the constituents. They're often not running on their philosophy, not running on the promises they made to their voters, but running on their personal egos and constraining service delivery and constraining real change. And that my hope is that after the next elections, we'll see more effective coalitions where if bigger parties rely on smaller parties, they'll be able to govern better for all the residents in those particular municipalities.
Mildred, are you prepared for the reality of the situation where a big party needs your vote? You almost start diluting your power because both parties, as it were, need each other, and your community ends up being on the back burner. Are you prepared for this scenario?
People are sick and tired. I'm not even worried about how the voting turnout is going to be, because having worked the ground so far, people are they have well received it. The villages are even worse. Because remember, with Moses Kotane, we only have 2 urban areas, where is Mokwase and Madikwe. I also have a very strong relationship with traditional leadership, where the plan going forward is to have regular bilaterals, because the power lies within them. And that power has been taken away from them. You find that the councillor has more power than the king. So or even the chiefs. So the plan is to give the power back to the kings. And in that way, it will be very easy for us to maneuver in what it is that we want to do for our nation. The first doors that I knocked into were traditional offices where I met with these kings. And they were very happy to hear that here's somebody who is looking after what the people have lost for so many years. So I'm worried now. Scared that they might do something horrible, yes.
Very interesting strategy. And Trevor, I am dying to hear your thoughts on that. Co-opting the chiefs and the kings, is that good for local government and mobilization? What are your thoughts?
Oh, well, Malcolm X said by any means necessary. So I think that maybe the communities there are really, desperate to find a solution. But of course, we fight today, fight for water, fight for electricity, but we should also make sure that we don't fight forever. So somehow we must have a vision of alternatives. We must have a dream of a different kind of government, the government which we know is standing with us. Well, if the chiefs, can subject themselves to a workers' government, a government of the people, well, it's good. But in the past, they haven't done that. So that is the only, maybe, qualification.
All right, let's just hear what our audience has to say. Let's see you wave. If you are heartful, you've had enough of the current lot, and you think that independents are the future. Let me see you wave. All right, I see quite a few people. And who's not convinced that independence brings something new and something fresh? Okay, all right, I see you, the whole lot of you. Okay, but Wayne, just very quickly, how do we get past what I would call a South Africanism, where people are heartful, I've used that word a lot because it is true, are heartful of the ANC, and instead of coming out to vote for somebody else, they'd rather not vote. And then we also tell people that if you don't vote in South Africa, you can't complain against your government. I don't agree with that, by the way. How do we get past those two scenarios?
Well, we need more programs like this. We need to have debates and discussions and engagements in our different communities. I know it's very hard, but we are now in level 1. So let's engage with the people who want the honor and privilege of representing all our communities across the country for the next 5 years. And as I said, those candidates lists are bigger than ever. There must be someone. Please participate in the democratic process. Line up on election day, and if there's still no one, you can spoil your ballot. But when it comes to your ward candidate, there must be someone who you can choose to vote for. You would want to surely vote for someone who you can call, who you can WhatsApp, who you can go and knock on their door to say, the lights ain't working, the water ain't working, you need to do a better job as our ward councillor. And I think that the bigger parties, it's clear from the ANC's manifesto launch, it's clear from the DA's manifesto launch, it's clear from the EFF's manifesto launch that they are taking voters more seriously this time. They know they have only one more chance to be able to convince you and do a better job in the ward and in that particular municipality.
Okay, so then in one town in the Eastern Cape, a local activist took the ANC to court for its corruption and poor service delivery. He's now standing as an independent councillor as part of a movement of independence across South Africa. We speak to him in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching The Big Debate. Today we're talking to independent candidates contesting the local government elections. In Makana municipality located in the Eastern Cape, a community activist called Ayanda Kota took the ANC council to court for its failure to deliver basic services like water. The case led to the court ordering the dissolution of the municipal council. Ayanda is the founder of the Makana Citizens Front, a movement of workers, taxi drivers and unemployed people. Take a look at this.
The current system, it's no different from the system of apartheid, where black people were treated as subhuman beings. Nothing has changed.
Apartheid
and inequality are alive and well in Makanda, formerly known as Grahamstown. The prestigious university town is surrounded by townships with crumbling infrastructure.
Siyakwazi uhlala singenamanzi for 3 to 4 days, even a week singenamanzi. If ayabuya amanzi abuya emdaka. Kune storage ezihambayo ezitratweni, kune dumping sites kuba akukho zinto zolahlela inkunkuma like i-containers zolahlela inkunkuma. Asikwazi novula iminyango xa kushushu kuba kuyanuka.
Kulapha kaMakana i-bucket system ayipheli. Uhlala inyanga ezintathu ayithathwa amabhaketi apha. Kufuneka uthathe wena ibhaketi uyolilahla enhlanzeni. nijike eli bhakethi ligulisa abanye abantu ngasezantsi.
Community members organized themselves and took the municipality to court, demanding service delivery.
We took Makana municipality to court because of its failure to meet its constitutional obligation in terms of Chapter 7 of the Constitution of this country. There was a landmark judgment. A court ordered that Makana municipality must be dissolved, but the political elite of the ANC went to Makhanda and said, we are going to challenge the court case.
Instead of the entire council being dissolved, only the mayor was replaced. The new mayor, also an ANC leader, says they are not delivering basic services because there is no money.
We are doing our best to address the service delivery concerns, but we are owed by the residents, business and the government departments close to 700 million rands. So the issue of the financial capacity of the municipality is a big issue.
But activists say that the real problem is corruption.
It's thieving and politicians, including officials, that don't care about people.
Ansenayo faith uvotela political parties because after 27 years sisahlala kule mess sikuyo.
Okay, I want to speak to Ayanda, whom we've just heard in that insert. A very brave man you are, Ayanda. I mean, you challenged the ANC head-on in court in Makhanda. Now you're standing as an independent. Tell us why.
As you have seen in the clip, the state of affairs, that we live like pigs in Makhanda. We don't have water, we don't have roads, we have absolutely nothing. This municipality has a budget of over 500 million. If there is no money, what happens to that money? That you can't offer a black plastic bag for refuse collection. There are no services, there's no refuse collection, people are living in dumping site, people are living in sewer. What happens to the equitable share money? What happens to the money that is collected through the rates? So we don't accept what the mayor is saying.
This is now a movement of independent candidates. You are having debates and discussions, and you are mobilizing, getting yourselves ready for the elections in a couple of weeks' time. Tell us more.
We are not a political party. We are a civic movement. This civic movement is a product of Makhanda shutdown, where on the 16th of June, people said we are sick and tired to forever protest, and there is no change in our city. So we're then given a mandate to say, go and register a civic movement that will contest the local government elections. So we don't regard ourselves as a political party. We don't derive our mandate from a caucus in the council. We derive our mandate from the communities. Communities have a right to recall and active participation. You don't have to wait for a political party if we are not happy with the councillor and the councillor is not performing. And also the councillors are subjected to recall if they are not doing anything. So we are different from a political party. We are a movement whose sole interest is to fix the problems of Makhanda.
All right, I understand that, the civic movement of a specific area, but I also understand that at a national level, there is some sort of coming together of independent candidates. What is that formation all about?
UPM has always been part of this broader coalition at a national level. So it's all about to say nothing has changed since 1994. It's almost 27 years, but inequalities persist, unemployment persists, poverty persists. As Comrade Trevor Ngwande was saying, we've got to dream of a better society, a just society. So that is the purpose of this coalition that we are part of, which quite a number of movements across the country are part of.
All right. Trevor, let me bring you in here. Let's just break down the concepts here. I understand the candidates really being embedded in their communities and fighting for service delivery in their areas. When it comes to that national formation of independence coming together, does it not invariably come closer to becoming some sort of political party and lose the essence of independent candidature? Just educate us here for a minute.
Yeah, the problem is not with political parties as such. It's because the political parties we have at the moment are what I can call bosses parties. So they are pushing the interests of the rich. They are attacking the working class and the poor. The politicians are busy with self-enrichment, corruption. They are also legal forms of self-enrichment, you know. So what we need are political organizations, political parties, community organizations who stand on the side of the working class and not those who go into politics in order to enrich themselves and to make the rich more richer. So I think it is very good that Comrade Ayanda and those other comrades are trying to reach out and pull their power, because there is a class enemy. It's not that, you know, people are just poor because they are born poor, because the capitalists are monopolizing the wealth. So we need to build that power, you know, to match and challenge that power. I think that's what they are trying to do.
Tiamo, do you find this exciting when you hear that even at a national level, there could be a home for independent voices such as yourself?
Yeah, before we entered politics, we were already doing activism here in the area. So we fought for food garden that was achieved. We fight evictions. We can't leave this community alone until we've addressed all its issues. We're talking about eradicating poverty. We think we could end homelessness. We actually did our own audit of municipal-owned buildings in our ward, and we found out that there are enough abandoned, unused municipal buildings in our ward that are residential. So we think there are many issues we can solve here before we start to think about the national platform. But like others have mentioned, some of these issues aren't just local. Many of these issues require cooperation between people. I mean, I've worked with Ayanda, for instance, on climate justice, charter, and other movements. So I think collaboration is always important, and cooperation between municipalities, between independents, between anyone that fights what we're fighting for, whether they're a party or independent. If they say, okay, from now on, we're going to give out accommodation to homeless people, I'm going to support it. If they say we're going to give people power over water and food systems, I'm going to support it, regardless of who pushes it. So it's about the issue here, and that can be national, local, or provincial. What's exciting is that all of us need to fight together.
Mm-hmm. And Wayne, your thoughts on that? The national gathering of independence, not a threat to the independence aspect of it?
When I was tracking by-elections and seeing local and regional parties starting to do better, one of the things which I was picking up on was that they were saying, we're sick of telling the DA's headquarters or Luthuli House of how Tsansabani in Postmansberg should be run, or how Dr. J.S. Morocco municipality in Mpumalanga should be done. We want to elect leaders from our own community who understand the issues much better than Luthuli House. So in principle, I understand that. But again, in reality, Laingsburg comes to mind, where there has been a small party which has held the balance of power there, and they are pushing a personal agenda of how that one councillor from that party can benefit. And that doesn't really help the community. So I'm really impressed by the passion which I've heard coming from Makana, the passion from Moses Kotani, the passion from Mangaung, which I'm hearing today. But in reality, over the last 5 years, we haven't seen that passion and that vision translate in reality with smaller parties and independent candidates who've had the balance of power.
All right, when we return, we speak to the Good Party, the Patriotic Alliance, COPE, Action SA, AIC, and the UDM. Full house. Wait for it. Welcome back to the big debate on local government elections. With continued service delivery challenges, corruption, populism, xenophobia in mainstream politics in South Africa, is it time to look beyond the three largest parties? Let's hear what the smaller parties have to offer. Okay, there are some rules here, I'm afraid. Candidates, we are giving you a minute, 1 minute, to convince the voters. 1 minute is a lot of time on television. So just give us your short, sharp comment about why we should vote for you. I'm going to start with the Patriotic Alliance. Dino Peterson, you have wrestled 4 wards from the DA in Johannesburg. I believe these are predominantly coloured communities where many people feel they have been let down. What are you promising?
As a party, what we are promising South Africans as a whole is really a party that listens, a party that is on the ground constantly. I am a current councillor serving in the city of Ekurhuleni, and I can tell you since we came in 2016, we have not stopped working. We have worked so hard that campaigning even becomes easier. And if these bigger parties had been servicing our country, our community, they would not have had the need to go out and spend all of that money on campaigning. So one thing that we are saying to our constituents and to our residents is that we are so service delivery driven. I always say the Patriotic Alliance almost appears as a civic organization because we are so in touch and on the ground. We know everything that happens
in touch and on the ground. That's the Patriotic Alliance. All right, let's hear from Action SA. Sarah Visler. Herman Mashaba is your founder. When he was a DA mayor in Joburg, there were many reports that service delivery declined in the city. And the mayor, we know, blamed foreigners in some instances for many of Joburg's ills at that time. So here he is now under a new party, Action SA. You represent them. What are you about?
We're not a small party, actually. We're a new party, and we were founded, obviously, under the People's Dialogue, where over 2 million people put in their submissions about what they would like to see from a political party. You've been using our slogan quite a bit today, Gatvol. Everyone is Gatvol with regards to what is going on out there with all the other political parties. But we have former mayors like Herman Mashaba, obviously you know, and Abel Tai, and we've got members of parliament like Dr. Makosi Khoza, chief of staffs from the DA as well as from other political parties, and you've got the CEO, Solga, and chairpersons of committees, and the list goes on.
What are you promising?
So we're doing something very different to what everybody else is doing. I worked with Herman Mashaba very closely at the City of Johannesburg in 2016. So I know that what his work ethic is like and what he has done and the vision that he had, which was a pro-poor government to give back to the communities.
Your minute is up, I'm afraid. We come to the UDM, the United Democratic Movement. Thandi Nontenja. Your party was a major player in the coalition in the Nelson Mandela Bay. You had high hopes, promised much, but of course the coalition did fall apart eventually. How are things going to pan out this time? What are you promising us?
The UTM was a kingmaker in Nelson Mandela Bay, yes. But at the moment, we are standing as the UTM and we are hoping to bring the services to the people. We are looking at the situation in all the municipalities where people are suffering. We are saying we are starting with stimulating the economy. People are not working. There must be jobs, sustainable jobs, not the 3 months jobs. We are looking at service delivery. We say we are tired of seeing people rioting every day. That must come to an end. That's why the UTM is putting people first in these elections. We are opening up doors of communication. Without communicating with the communities, you are assuming that this is what the communities want. But when you communicate with the people, you are putting the people first, and the people are going to tell you their needs, and you take it from there.
Thank you very much, UDM. Let's go to Good. Sem Shabani. Your most well-known founding member is Patricia de Lille. We all know her, former DA mayor of Cape Town, a city with housing shortages and deep inequality, in fact, in the whole province. Now, as the Good Party, you are calling for affordable housing. What else?
Simple things that these past three governments in our space for the past 3 terms, they failed to do. Simple things like water, electricity. So those are the things that we are offering. And what we're also doing is also ensuring that people are well taken care of in terms of the spatial justice. People must live next to where they work. People must also be afforded opportunities to make, the living from wherever they are. We are also opening up space for small businesses to ensure that they also contribute towards creating employment. So those are the things that we're going to ensure that we start working and hitting the ground.
Is up. Congress of the People, COPE. Dennis Bloem, Willie Madisha, that's your deputy president, said that the IEC is in the ANC's pocket, yet you still trust the institution enough to participate in these elections. What are you offering us?
What we are going to do is municipalities of corruption.
COPE is in the car, it seems, hey? That's why we're having that problem.
Ready? We went to the Zondo Commission and testified there. Not a single other political party were doing that. We will take the reports of the Auditor General on municipalities and clean up. We lock up each and everyone that is involved in corruption in the municipalities. We are not promising people. We are committing to people clean government. I am now, as we speak, I'm in a rural area in Limpopo. Everywhere that you do look at, it is wheelbarrows with people, old ladies, carrying water from dams, from rivers. It is a shame. We want to show people that what the Congress of the People stand for. When we resigned in Pulukwani, Ntadele was telling the people that this government is going to destroy the economy, it will destroy the ANC, and look what is happening now.
Your minute is up. Cope on the move there. That minute used up. So, Trevor, let's start with you. Are you impressed? Are you going to vote for any of the small parties that you've heard on the big debate today?
No one is independent of the class struggle. You know, everyone must choose a side. So we all know that, you know, capitalism comes in many forms. Chattel slavery was capitalism. Colonialism, apartheid was capitalism. So today we have a boss's political party running a boss's government and protecting profits. So none of these parties really are mentioning capitalism. Why? Because they are capitalist parties themselves. You know, they are part of the problem, not the solution. So what we need is an alternative vision like the one put forward by the comrades in Makana. So we really need an alternative party, a party of the poor.
So here are some smaller parties. There will be bigger parties as well in the election. We know that some of the most well-run municipalities in South Africa, I think that's Mossel Bay, Prince Albert is also one of them. They are run by coalition. I mean, would you join any of these parties and partner with them for a coalition? Maybe let me come to you there, Tsiamo. You've heard the smaller parties as well. Would you get into a coalition with one of them?
See, Reddy, I'm not a politician. I don't think about council votes. I don't think about coalitions and all those, as you know, Trevor rightly points out, bossist kind of thinking. I always think about the community. I think about homeless people that don't have a place to stay in awful weather that we're experiencing right now in Mangaung. I think about the fact that there are people who can't pay rent and are just 1 month away from joining that homeless. I think about people that don't have access to basic necessities, water, sanitation, food, primary health care. And the only question I ask myself, anyone, independent, party, politician, activist, anyone that says we are going to provide housing for people, I will support them. I will fight with them. I will march with them. I will vote with them. We will use any means necessary to achieve that objective.
We know, we've seen, we've experienced it. Local government is a mess. Fruitless and wasteful expenditure has grown to 3.5 billion this year. We hear about it from the Auditor General all the time. That is our money down the pothole. But do we have a way out of this? Are small parties or independents the key to clean government? Stay with us. Welcome back to the big debate on local government elections. Today, we have been talking about who else, other than the three largest parties, can offer us a way out of poor service delivery and corruption. Let's now hear from our audience. Let's hear your thoughts. Who wants to say something?
I recently joined Action SA, and as a graduate of political science, I feel like Action SA relates to my values of economic prosperity, non-racialism, and social justice. And I feel like they're ready to bring about change in our society. And I feel like it's enough now. We have suffered under the leadership of the ANC. Thank you.
Independents have a better ear to the ground to address the concerns of the wards that they are looking after. And we are in a better position to also work with and network with other parties and other independents, because we all have the same goal, which is the betterment of our communities. And if we look after each other's communities as well as our own, then we'll all uplift each other together. So independents are better equipped to work with each other because we are starting from a singular point, whereas a party, they sort of in a bubble where they don't look beyond that to really address the concerns of the people.
Independent candidates and smaller parties are needed in order for our democracy to be strengthened. But then looking at independent candidates and smaller parties in local governments, such as in provinces in Mpumalanga, which is where I am right now, we need them to be able to unite. And because as Africans, we must unite in order to build a stronger community, because of the manner in which the politics of such places as Mpumalanga are, where bigger parties will usually use these smaller parties as their pawns when making key decisions.
We are a group of independent candidates standing in 19 wards. We are directly responsible to the community, not to a political party. There's no red tape. After the elections, we can start immediately. So if there are people with loyalty to a party, we would say, vote that nationally, but give us our towns back. We want to restore the stakeholder role of our communities in our municipalities and break that unholy alliance between council and the municipal operations, and rid ourselves of bucket systems, people not having water for 10 years, kids standing at Jojo's in the morning to arrive clean at school. That's unheard of in this time. So there's so much knowledge in the 5 towns that we're representing. Please let us use our communities for the betterment of our towns.
Here in Makana, UPM took a huge leap of faith in launching this movement and inviting everyone to get involved. You can see I look very different from Ayanda. It's an extremely diverse movement. It covers the whole range of society, from the poorest of the poor to professionals, teachers, and so on. And, you know, I think this is what we have to start thinking about at municipal level. It is really a huge collapse of service delivery. The poor are the ones who are most affected. And those, like myself, who come from academic background, I'm a former chair of our residents association, we need to take our starting point from where the poor are being hit hardest and work to address those issues, rather than the traditional mode of politics, which is very much top-down, trickle-down. We are working very hard at this, and I think we'll get there. I don't know if we will win enough votes to take control of the municipality, but I certainly believe we can make it a big difference.
So I'll be standing for independent. Why? The problem is we had 27 years wasted by one political party. So I think independent for the community, by the community. So I think it's the only way we can help our communities and resolve many things.
Okay, my thoughts. Anything other than the big 2, even the big 3, vote for them. My advice for people is to vote for the person in their community that they believe is going to represent them. Obviously, I'm not pro-independence. I think that your guest, Trevor, will possibly find a home with the Land Party, because I think that ideology is very important. It's all well and good having a whole lot of independents that are capitalists but aren't actually taking a look at the deep ideological problems that are causing all of this, all of the day-to-day challenges that our people face. So I do believe that you need a political party in order to play the game with the big guys, so to speak. We are basically a group of activists that work as a collective. A political party doesn't have to be a top-down structure. It can be a bottom-up structure. And that's what we work towards. We, as activists, managed to get land returned to people for use as it was intended before we even established the party. We are able, as a group, to mobilize people. And we're hoping in this election to take the overstrand and make headway in other areas that we're running in. I believe that independents don't have the same power. In our community, if you had to have a councillor from Ward 3 and a councillor from Ward 12 trying to agree on whether, for example, dogs should be on leashes or not, have a problem. I think that a political organization is needed in order to drive and have some substance and impact.
I don't think independents stand a chance in the local government. Local government is a very contested space. You have to have numbers and also experience. If you want to influence decision making, you have to have allies within the chambers in terms of other politicians, which is your councillors and also officials. Also, as an independent, you have to have a plan how to build your capacity, because new councillors spend 5 years trying to understand the procedures of the council first.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't understand, that space have got rules and regulation how you can be able to play the game. And most new councillors spend most of their time writing or trying to learn the procedures, how to read the agenda of the council.
I suggest that we go with the smaller party, but we are not so small because of Heaven Mashaba was long along in the game. Our vision is to help our people and restore human dignity, alleviate poverty, and fulfill the right of aspiration of all the people and future generation. We make sure that we talk to our people so that they can know what they want. What they want, I'm living in front of the infrastructure that they don't have sanitation. There is the people that are very hungry, that they don't know the councillor, but they are in the Ward 39. And we hope that people will vote. Those who are not going to vote, I don't know, it's not nice not to vote. Please, people, vote so that you can make sure that whatever you do, you can make sure somebody is responsible for your vote. The councillor must go to the people so that they can know their problems. Thank you very much.
Wayne, what are your thoughts there? You've heard people's views. I was really struck by what Salma said, that look, if you love your big political parties, vote for them at national levels. But we want our towns back. The local government elections are very different from national elections, and sometimes we blur the lines there. But then we had Mpumi cautioning that, hey, hold on, you new kids on the block. You've got to know how to read reports. You've got to know the rules and the regulations. It's not that easy. Your comments?
So basically, it's very, very hard. I think Mpumi does have a point to make major change as one independent councillor. However, you did hear some of the smaller parties, such as the Land Party. Now, that's a good example and maybe a good way forward, because they won a by-election off the ANC, where the ANC had 90% of the vote in the ward. And what happened there was they had a community primary where everyone in that ward in Zwelihle could choose the candidate they would want to be on the ballot for the Land Party. And they took that seat almost by a landslide off the ANC, one of the safest seats in the Western Cape for the ANC. So I think small parties and to some extent the independents can definitely make change in this local government election. They can articulate the needs of a particular ward or a particular community. The challenge comes when they get into government with one of the larger parties. Will they be able to affect real change? Will they be able to make lives better for their voters and for the general residents of that municipality?
There are 278 local authorities in the country and 3,884 councillors. That's 278 opportunities for corruption and self-enrichment, or for improving the lives of the community. Which will it be? When we return, we hear from our panel. Welcome back to the Big Debate. With the elections of 1st November drawing closer, will we see the voting stations filled by a nation ready for renewal? Let's get closing comments from our panelists. Trevor, we'll start with you.
Well, I think every independent, in fact, any candidate for election should sign a pledge agreeing to the right of recall, receiving wages that are equal to those of a skilled worker, taking mandates and giving report backs, and joining and leading struggles and protests. We must also challenge the voters, because we must stop being victims. We must become fighters for a better life for all. No one will do it for us, no Messiah. The only way to move forward is to move together in struggle. No one will solve the problems for you without you. So both the voter and the candidate should take that pledge.
Very important message for citizens. Wayne, closing thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think when it comes to national and provincial elections, we can speak about social development, we can speak about foreign policy, we can speak about arts and culture. How does that actually impact the ordinary voter on the ground? That's different when it comes to local government elections. We know that local government elections are about roads, it's about sanitation, it's about refuse collection, and it's about service delivery. And that is why I think the trend and the trajectory for local government turnout is upward, whereas the trends for national and provincial elections is downward with regards to turnout. South Africans realize how important it is to participate in local government elections. And I hope that South Africans in their millions will come out and vote, look at the very exciting options in their ballot paper, and choose wisely on 1 November.
So we are going to end with our independent candidates. You could say that they are the stars of the show. So Mildred, let's come to you.
Firstly, let me quickly disagree with Mpumi and what he said about going into local governance and not being able to do. Knowledge and experience is acquired, and values are inherited. So that we can argue with. So we are ready for local governance and we're going to go into it. And when it comes to coalitions and all these other big parties, I don't think I would even want to consider going to coalition into any other political big party unless if it's an independent that is running around Moses Kotane. And with Banabatari, we are saying this is our time. It's time for us to take it upon ourselves to say enough is enough. We have lost enough. Our parents are sitting right now and waiting for us to do what is right for us. This is the time for us to say, we are standing up and we are saying that Moses Kotane, we are here to preserve what is lost and to make better of what it is that is still left. Thank you.
Thank you, Mildred. And Siamo, your final thoughts.
A lot of the time, we think of independents as people that are alone or inexperienced, don't understand the political process, that can't do anything once they get elected. But what I like about this show today, and I've been listening to everyone's contributions, I like being a listener, is it's proven that wrong. Most independents are activists with the background in doing things, achieving amazing things, what we've heard in Makana, what we've done this side here in Mangaung. A lot of the time, independents build off victories in the community. And if we can do so much when we're out of government, imagine what more we can do in our communities if we have access as a community to government and state resources. Our message is on the 2nd of November, whether we win or not, we're still going to be on the streets. We're going to be fighting evictions. We're going to fight for water, for sanitation, for various service needs that our community has. Election or no election, we need to be fighting for our communities.
Thank you very much. Like the victims of an abusive relationship, we give our leaders another chance, only to find ourselves disappointed and bruised after the polls. Are we ready to walk away from the abuse? Does our future lie with the devil we know, or can we hand our precious vote to one of the many smaller parties or independent candidates? You decide. Don't forget the election is on the 1st of November. I'm Ridi Kabi, and you've been watching The Big Debate.